Sometimes you do not get relief from the courts, lower courts as well, so you can directly approach High Court under Section 482, wherein High Court is empowered to order police to register an FIR. So on the basis of who is the informant or who is the authority registering the FIR, there could be multiple kinds of FIR. But this is not a kind similar to or classification similar to jurisdiction non-jurisdictional FIR. So that seems to be more appropriate a classification. ये तो इस बात का आंसर है जो पहले वाला classification है, that who can register an FIR. If someone asks you this question that who can register an FIR, then the answer to this question is either victim or third person or accused person. Police authority can so moto register an FIR. Court can order the police to register an FIR. So all these are answers to that simple question, that who is entitled to register an FIR or to pass an order for registration of an FIR. So this is about different kinds of FIR. If you read Lalita Kumari said that there are two kinds of FIR, namely FIR under 154(1) and FIR under 157(1). So they are taking it to slightly at a different level. Normal understanding is that FIR is filed under 154, but they are also making it clear that under 157, when police officer goes to a place without registration or without without receiving any first information report, he himself is going to a particular place because he got some kind of a clue or some kind of lead that a cognizable offense has been committed at XYZ place. And if he finds at that place that an offense has been committed, he can come back and register an FIR. So there, Lalita Kumari is talking about different kinds of FIR on the basis of who is the informant or who is registering the FIR. If it is being registered by you, me, private persons like us, then or citizens like us, then it will be an FIR under 154(1). Otherwise, it will be an FIR which has been initiated under 157. It does not mean that police officer does not have to comply with the requirements of 154 or police regulation. All the requirements has to be complied by the police officer. Now, coming to next issue. Now we will discuss some issues relating to FIR. And first issue in this regard would be whether a telephonic information, if reduced to writing, can be treated as FIR. You can replace this issue with another issue, that in present times when most of the people, they are in touch of technology in one way or the other, can they send an information via a social media platform or some other using some other kind of means of communication, and whether that information, if reduced in writing, can be treated as FIR. So that is an question in extension. The initial question that was raised before the courts was that whether telephonic information, if reduced to writing, can be treated as FIR. What do you think? Should you treat it information that you received via telephone as FIR, or it has to be an information that is given by physically approaching the police station and then getting it registered? Any opinion on it? So what you do is
it can be treated as FIR. I think it can be treated as an FIR if the commission of nature of the offense and commission of the offense is properly informed to the police officer.
Like it depends on the nature of the information that is being received via telephonic communication. So if it is such that it is clearly telling, the message is very clear and it is telling the police officer in charge of the police station that XYZ thing has happened, ABC has done it, and this is the nature of the crime, then such information can be treated to be an FIR if reduced in writing by the criminal procedure or under criminal procedure, even when it is received via telephone. So there are two case laws on it. You can just flip through these case laws. and they are saying the same thing. You have to read between the lines. The idea that is being floated by the court to answer this question or this issue is that if the telephonic message is cryptic means ambiguous, you could not understand it. Okay? If the message is cryptic and officer in charge proceeds to the police place of occurrence on the basis of that information to find out the details of the nature of the offense itself, then it cannot be said that the information which had been received by him on telephone shall be deemed to be the first information report. So if you read it once again, you will find that the decision on the issue whether telephonic information, if reduced in writing, can be treated as FIR would depend on the clarity and the nature of the information. If the information is sufficiently explaining the crime cognizable offense and also it is not ambiguous in nature, it is not just कि सर जल्दी आ जाओ यहाँ पे क्राइम हो गया, एक तो ये वाली इंफॉर्मेशन होती है, ठीक है, या फिर ये होता है कि सर आई एम अंडर स्ट्रेस या माय फ्रेंड इज अंडर डिस्ट्रेस, प्लीज गो टू XYZ प्लेस, I received a call from distress call from my friend. So all these messages are incomplete. They are cryptic in nature. They are not explaining if a crime has been committed, what is the nature of the crime which has been committed. So therefore, it depends on all these factors whether to say that a telephonic information can be treated as FIR. So therefore, the answer to this issue would be that a telephonic information, if reduced in writing, can be treated as FIR provided there is a proviso to the answer to this issue. Provided the information is clear, explanatory, and sufficient for the police officer in charge of the police station to reasonably make out that a cognizable offense has been committed. So information ka nature should be that it must disclose the commission of a cognizable offense in very clear terms. So for example, to put this in context in the words of Supreme Court, if the information given on telephone is not cryptic and on the basis of the information the officer in charge is prima facie satisfied that a cognizable offense has been committed, and then he proceeds to the police station after recording such then he proceeds from the police station to the crime scene after recording such information to investigate the offense, then that piece of information would constitute FIR or would be treated to be FIR. So for example, in another case, Tapinder Singh versus State of Punjab, where an anonymous telephonic message neither discloses names of the accused nor the commission of a cognizable offense, it cannot be treated as FIR. The mere fact that this information was the first in point of time does not by itself clothe it with the character of first information report. So the same issue you can frame with regard to other means of communication. So for example, if officer in charge of the police station receives a WhatsApp message, for example, or receives a text message, detailed text message explaining the commission of an offense in very clear words, would that be treated to be an FIR if reduced in writing? Or if he receives a distress WhatsApp message, please save me, XYZ person, then would that be treated to be a FIR? So this is one issue. So as I told you, now what I will be doing, I will be discussing with you issues relating to FIR, which has been discussed by the courts via or through judicial decisions. So this is first issue, whether telephonic information if reduced in writing be treated as FIR. Now another issue is that whether reasonableness or credibility of information relating to cognizable offense is a condition precedent for registration of FIR. So the idea behind asking this such kind of a question or framing such issue is it is a common practice that you hear about that, or maybe you might have experience or someone very close to you have narrated to you that I went to the police station to register FIR or police officer in charge of police station did not register my FIR. तो कई बार ये जो सिचुएशन होती है ऑफ नॉन रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ FIR बाय द पुलिस, इसमें कई बार पुलिस वाले का ओपिनियन ये होता है कि यार द इंफॉर्मेशन विच यू आर गिविंग इज नॉट क्रेडिबल इनफ, आई एम नॉट satisfied that what you are saying has actually been done. But if I suppose say that if somebody is approaching the court, suppose X is approaching the approaching police station with a detailed information that look, I was standing in front of my house and two people they barged into my house in front of me. When I tried to stop them, they physically hurt me, and then they committed XYZ robbery or whatever you want to give in your information. ये वाली आपकी डिटेल्ड इंफॉर्मेशन है. जब आपसे पूछा गया कौन थे कि जी मुझे नहीं पता थे, अज्ञात लोग थे, एनोनिमस पीपल, ठीक है, सो अनआइडेंटिफाइड पीपल. बट आफ्टर लिसनिंग टू योर नरेशन, if the police officer says कि भैया नहीं, I am personally not satisfied that this information is credible. So that is why this issue has been framed, that whether reasonableness or credibility of any information relating to cognizable offense is a condition precedent for registration of an FIR. Do you have anything to say about it? That should credibility or reasonableness of the information should play a role? Should reasonableness or credibility of information play a role in deciding this, whether to register an FIR or not to register an FIR? Could it become a condition precedent for registration of an FIR? Or for you, FIR you treat to be the first step to start a criminal proceeding. उसके बाद investigation का process, for example, if you are starting, तो वो तो पता investigation में करोगे ना आपके कितनी credible और reasonable information है. FIR तो lodge कर ही सकते हो.
So I don't think that reasonable or credibility should be a condition.
हाँ, तो basically you should have a brief idea कि भैया इशू क्या है और इशू का आंसर, मतलब पॉसिबल आंसर क्या है, with the help of the court decision or with the help of your own understanding. So basically courts are addressing this issue by looking at the complete picture. They are saying that look, FIR is not the ultimate thing to be done by state authorities in case of in case a cognizable offense has been committed. It is not the final thing. It is the first step towards initiating a criminal action. So therefore, if state authorities start demanding that we will initiate investigation only when, or we will register your grievance only when the information given by you seems to be credible or reasonable, otherwise we will not. So court is saying कि अगर आप ऐसा करोगे, then it would hit at the very idea of initiation of a criminal case by giving information to the police. अगर उसको जो इंफॉर्मेंट है उसको पूरा केस साबित ही करना पड़ेगा पुलिस स्टेशन में बैठ के, और उसको ये प्रूव, इट्स काइंड ऑफ अ बर्डन ऑन द शोल्डर्स ऑफ द इंफॉर्मेंट कि वो सेटिस्फाई करे the urges of reasonableness and credibility that is there inside the head of a police officer in charge of the police station. तो कोर्ट कहता है फिर तो ये the entire idea would go in vain. It would be a futile exercise to have this idea at the first place in CRPC. So, FIR तो is just an information. अगर जरा सा भी लगता है उसमें, थोड़ा सा भी आपको लगता है कि रीजनेबलनेस है, थोड़ा सा भी लगता है क्रेडिबिलिटी है, then it must be registered as lodged as an first information report. Now court is looking at it with a legal angle, and read this paragraph very carefully. Now court is saying that if you read 154, then the word information is not suffixed or is not qualified by the words like reasonable information, credible information, clear information. ठीक है जी, ऐसे word से it is not qualified. So therefore in Bhajanlal versus State of Haryana, we will discuss this case law once again when we will discuss quashing of FIR. The non-qualification of the word information in section 154(1) is for the reason that police officer should not refuse to record any information relating to commission of cognizable offense on the ground that he is not satisfied with the credibility and reasonableness of the information. In other words, court is saying that reasonableness and credibility of the said information is not a condition precedent for registration of a case. In Ramesh Kumari versus State of NCT, same opinion is given by Supreme Court, wherein it held that an officer in charge of police station cannot refuse to register the FIR on the ground that information is not relevant or credible according to him, according to the police wala. So therefore you can conclude that at the stage of registration of a crime or a case on the basis of information, on the basis of first information, the police officer concerned cannot embark upon this inquiry कि भैया जो इंफॉर्मेशन उसको मिली है वो रिलायबल है, जेन्युइन है, और XYZ एडजेक्टिव्स आप उसमें ऐड करके उस इंफॉर्मेशन को लिटमस टेस्ट पे प्लेस नहीं करो. You should not place that information on a litmus test. वहीं का वहीं पुलिस स्टेशन में. FIR should be treated to be the first step towards initiating criminal justice administration, and therefore it should not be burdened with different kinds of conditions. You should not attach numerous preconditions to registration of FIR. The process of registration of FIR should be very simple and without any strings or conditions attached. You always have this option that after registration of an FIR, if the police officer finds that there is no need to investigate this case further, as there is no substance either in the information or there are nothing that has happened as it has been disclosed in FIR, you can foreclose the investigation under 157, send a report to the magistrate. तो ये थोड़ी है कि जैसे ही आपने FIR रजिस्टर कर ली इसका मतलब ये accused has been proven guilty. जैसे ही आपने FIR कर ली इसका मतलब ये investigation has been completed. It is just the first nascent step towards criminal justice administration. So therefore, this is how you should have a clarity in your mind about the issue in hand, which is whether reasonableness, credibility of FIR relating to is a condition present for registration of FIR. So you can also read Prakash Singh Badal ka statement, which is saying police officer cannot embark upon inquiry as to whether the information led by informant is reliable and genuine or otherwise, and refuse to register a case on the ground that information is not reliable and credible. Information is not reliable or credible. Okay? So this is the second issue. The first was telephonic information, second was reasonableness. Now we will come to the third issue. Now, it is a settled principle of criminal procedure that FIR should be registered as soon as possible. It must be registered the earliest possible opportunity, because there are several benefits of prompt lodging of FIR. For example, police may get during the process of investigation better evidences, may collect better evidences. For example, police may prevent the further commission of crime by the same accused, or if there are more than one people, by all the accused, or it may apprehend the accused on time, arrest him or her on time. So there are several benefits of, or it may also instill a sense of confidence in the society that if at all a crime is committed in and around us, then police will take prompt action. So when will police be able to take a prompt action? They will be able to do that if you lodge a prompt FIR. This is the general rule. Now the problem associated with this particular rule is that sometimes there is a delay in lodging FIR. And that delay in lodging FIR is largely associated with offenses against women, sexual offenses against women. तो जितनी बार भी कोर्ट के सामने ये इशू आया है कि whether what effect would delay in lodging FIR have on the prosecution story or on the case from the prosecution side, उसमें से most of the time the delay in lodging FIR was relating to a sexual offense committed against women. ज्यादातर तब होता, ज्यादातर, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि हमेशा डिले तभी होता है, बट ज्यादातर तभी होता है. So therefore when this issue is answered by courts, they say that delay in lodging FIR, it does not affect credibility of FIR and also is not a ground to disbelieve prosecution story, provided there are justified reasons to explain the delay. बिल्कुल एकदम जो कोर लीगल टर्म होती है ना, मतलब जो सिर्फ लॉयर्स ही यूज करते हैं, नॉर्मली ले पर्सन्स डज नॉट यूज इट. सो इस इशू का आंसर जो है वो इट इज एंटायरली इन लीगल टर्म्स दैट लुक, डिले पर से डज नॉट हैव any severe legal consequences provided delay is explained properly and sufficiently to the satisfaction of the court. तो ये मामला कहां चला जाएगा फिर? That it depends on facts and circumstances of the case and the nature of sexual offense and the extent of delay and the strength of prosecution story or witnesses, which would help to decide the court whether to take delay in lodging FIR in consideration or not. Delay in lodging FIR in consideration or not. So the conclusion is, if this issue is asked, then as per Supreme Court, it cannot be used as a formula to disbelieve prosecution story. Formula means you cannot use it as a mathematical formula that if there is a delay, there is no truth in prosecution story. If there is a delay, there is no substance in the FIR. If there is a delay, the FIR is concocted. The FIR is fabricated, a kind of made up story. There is no need to conduct an investigation because it's a made up story. So you should not apply such a formula if there is a delay. What the court is saying is that register an FIR, even if someone is approaching you with a delayed time, register that FIR. Do not fall prey to presumptions that because there is a delay, there won't be any substance story. Investigate it as good as you can, and if there is a substance in your police report or charge sheet, the magistrate will take a cognizance, send the case for trial, and the trial judge would not treat delay or any argument relating to delay in FIR to be a argument to directly disbelieve the prosecution story, provided this delay is sufficiently explained to the satisfaction of the court, that why there was a delay in registration of FIR. तो ज्यादातर सेक्सुअल ऑफेंसेस के केस में क्या होता है that family members of the victim and victim herself, they may take a long time to decide whether to lodge an FIR or not. So that could be the reason for delay. That could be the reason for delay. Any one of you wants to say anything about delay? Then we will close our discussion on delay as well. Now, this issue relating to delay later on was framed as, like, initially it was only the issue of delay in lodging FIR. The court used to frame this issue and answer it in case it is required to be answered. And later on, what used to happen, that delay also, because as I was saying that in majority of the cases, delay was in offenses in the nature of sexual offenses against women. So therefore, courts start framing a separate issue using that particular kind of offense. So for example, they started framing this issue that how much weightage should be given to the factor of delay in lodging FIR in sexual offences. That became the issue. Instead of a simple issue that we studied just now, that what is the consequence of delay in lodging FIR? Because in majority of the cases where there is a delay in lodging FIR, they are related to sexual offences against women. So therefore, courts started framing a separate specific issue, including that offence, so that they could have a clarity in their mind that how we should approach this issue, that how much weightage you should give to the factor of delay in lodging FIR in sexual offences. So the court said that we are not in favor of giving a extra weightage to the factor of delay to believe defense argument that, look, your lordship, this story is entirely concocted, fabricated story, because there is a delay in lodging an FIR. So therefore, Supreme Court in the state of Punjab versus Ramdev Singh said that courts should display a greater sense of responsibility to be more sensitive in handling cases of sexual assault on women, particularly of tender age and children, and to deal with the question of delay in such cases. You should not throw away the prosecution case only on this basis that there was a delay in lodging FIR. Now, the next issue is, which I will not discuss today, but I will introduce this issue and we will discuss it with the help of a case law in your case material. And the issue is, and you may try to answer it in yes or no. What do you think? What is your personal opinion? Now, whether it is obligatory for the police to register FIR on information given by informant, or officer in charge of police station has a discretion of conducting some kind of preliminary inquiry before registering FIR. How will you answer this issue? Is it obligatory on the police officer in charge of the police station if I go to the police station to register my FIR, or he can exercise his police discretion that first let me conduct a preliminary inquiry, then I will register an FIR?
Sir, it is mandatory on his part to register the FIR.
क्यों नहीं करते होंगे पुलिस वाले रजिस्टर FIR? ऐसा क्या परेशानी है?
Corruption.
हाँ जी.
So it could be corruption or just like judgment. Sometimes when women go up to them, they might judge them on what they're wearing and say that you probably deserved it or something like that. So there might be many reasons. I mean, there's a human bias or an error involved. I think it should be mandatory for them to register an FIR, and there can be an investigation. This is just information. After that, we can find out whether whatever the victim or prosecution side is saying is correct or not. But information likhna is important because that way everybody has a chance to justice.
And that way everybody could have sufficient confidence to approach police station कि भैया मैं जाऊंगा तो then I will get some relief from there. कुछ ना कुछ अगर आपको पता चलेगा कि it takes a lot of time, lot of energy, you have to run through the corridors of the court to get registered your FIR, then people would, instead of approaching the police station, they would prefer to stay quiet and remain the victim of crime. ये जो इन्होंने चीज बोली है, ये मैंने इससे पहले भी बोला था आपको. Look at this step in criminal process very carefully. It's just an information. It's just a method of reporting the crime. It's not the end of the story. It's not putting any of the accused in FIR in jeopardy. It is only when police officer is satisfied after investigation or during investigation that I should arrest the accused person, then only accused person shall be arrested. Otherwise not. Otherwise there is no need to arrest the accused person. तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है इसमें कि कोई आपके पास कोई ओरल और रिटन इंफॉर्मेशन लेके आ रहा है डिस्क्लोजिंग ए कॉग्निजेबल कमीशन ऑफ कॉग्निजेबल ऑफेंस और आप उसको ना लिखो. इसका कोई एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रीजन भी हो सकता है क्या कि यार FIR रजिस्टर करेंगे तो फिर ये करना पड़ेगा, फिर ये 50 फॉर्मेलिटी होगी, मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ रजिस्टर. Is yes, this attitude could be a reason behind non-registering FIR? हाँ बताओ.
After registering the FIR, the IO has to forward the copy of FIR to the magistrate also.
ठीक है. इन्वेस्टिगेशन भी शुरू करनी पड़ेगी.
Yes, sir. And he has to do investigation also. So
अगर वो
that's
इन्वेस्टिगेशन बंद करना चाहता है तब भी एक रिपोर्ट बनानी पड़ेगी, उसमें कारण बताने पड़ेंगे, फोरक्लोज क्यों कर रहा हूँ इन्वेस्टिगेशन, और
जी,
इन्वेस्टिगेशन के बाद या तो फाइनल रिपोर्ट फाइल करनी पड़ेगी या चार्जशीट फाइल करनी पड़ेगी. इन्वेस्टिगेशन इटसेल्फ इज ए सीरियस टास्क. तो आपको लगता नहीं है कि 50% ऑफ द टाइम, और एटलीस्ट मैं तो मानता हूं 90% ऑफ द टाइम, इट इज बिकॉज देयर इज अ लैक ऑफ प्रोफेशनलिज्म इन आवर पुलिस फोर्सेस. ये बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है. मैं आपको इसका एक एग्जांपल दूंगा. यू मे ट्राई टू एसोसिएट विद इट. गांव में प्राइमरी स्कूल में टीचर क्यों नहीं पढ़ाता है, क्यों नहीं आता है? ये कंप्लेन क्यों आती है? वो टीचर नहीं आता है या नहीं पढ़ाता है, क्यों आती है कंप्लेन? हाँ जी बताओ. सरकारी स्कूल का, सरकारी हॉस्पिटल का डॉक्टर गायब क्यों मिल जाता है कि भैया आप गए तो डॉक्टर साहब ही नहीं है? या तहसील में आप कोई काम कराने गए तो वो एसडीएम साहब 10 बजे आने होते हैं, वो 1 बजे क्यों आते हैं? या आपका जो साइन 1 दिन में हो जाना था वो 1 महीने का टाइम क्यों लगता है? और आपको नहीं लगता कि यही कारण है शायद पुलिस ऑफिसर, व्हेन पुलिस ऑफिसर इज सेइंग या पुलिस इज सेइंग यार नहीं लिखेंगे आपकी एफआईआर, इंक्वायरी करेंगे, पहले जाओ आप. तो ऐसे ही कोई भी चले आते हैं, 50 लोग आते हैं एफआईआर लेके, मैं 50 एफआईआर लिखूं क्या? फिर उसके बाद 50 इन्वेस्टिगेशन कंडक्ट करूं क्या पूरे दिन में? So therefore, look around you. Police officers or people who are sitting in the police station, they are also similar to the people who are sitting in tehsil, who are sitting in a government school in a hinterland area, who are sitting in a government hospital, or in any government office. They are similar to those people. It's just that the nature of their work is different. Nature of their work is different. However, even when it is different, it involves a lot of investment at the personal level or the professional level to complete that task. It involves a lot of running around from one place to the other. It involves a lot of paperwork. It involves a lot of filing thing. It involves a lot of traveling to and fro, police station, home, or crime scene, or XYZ place. So it's a tough work. But at the same time, such problem would only arise when police officer is doing his or her job unprofessionally, unethically. उसको वो काम पसंद नहीं है पर वो कर रहा है. Why I would skip the class as a teacher? For example, you are studying in Delhi University and you witnessed a trend in a teacher कि भैया वो क्लास नहीं लेता है. Why he must be doing that, or he is doing that, or she is doing that? कारण क्या है? सिंपल सा. It is not a legal thing which I am asking to you. Normally क्या कारण लगता है? आपको कोई काम करना है,
motivation, no
lack of motivation, not interested in doing that particular thing, maybe not enough sufficiently trained, maybe not able to understand the nature of the work. जो जॉब, ऐसा भी तो होता है ना कि आपकी कोई नौकरी लग गई, इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी है कि आपको वो चीज समझ आ गई है कि उसकी कार्यशैली क्या है, कार्य प्रणाली क्या है. इट मे बी ए सिचुएशन आपको समझ ही ना आए करना क्या है इसमें, बस आप थोड़ा बहुत इधर उधर से करे जा रहे हो, बट कंप्लीटली यू आर अनएबल टू अंडरस्टैंड इट.
So in some cases, job security भी इतनी होती है that people will not put in as much effort as they would have.
But it is more a thing of which I believe to be a personal, to be a thing of personal ethics and the professionalism at the personal level that is inside you. So your work at your workplace reflects your personality. Your work at your workplace reflects your personality. Either it could be a work or it could be your action of not taking a class or not registering an FIR. I put them at the same level. It is just that the consequence of not registering an FIR are serious, and consequence of not taking a class are slightly less serious for the stakeholders. For the stakeholders, consequences are, but problem is similar. Problem is similar. अगर मुझे कोई काम normally क्या होता है ना कि suppose why would I not want to take a class? For example, if I have a scheduled class, मुझे personally लगता है I will not take a class because I am not interested in this work. Maybe I had some dreams, those got shattered, so I'm not taking a class. Maybe I don't like taking the class at all. Not a fit person to be a teacher. तो मैं ऐसा काम करूंगा. तो ये जो सारे काम उधर inside the premises of थाना होते हैं ना, ऐसे कि I will not register your FIR. It is reflecting that the person who is sitting on the chair is not fit to sit on the chair. He is just dragging it. He is just dragging it. I'm forgetting the name of the book. So there is a discussion कि ठीक है, आपकी प्रॉब्लम फॉर एग्जांपल ये है कि प्राइमरी स्कूल के टीचर नहीं आते स्कूल में. आप एक स्ट्रिक्ट लॉ बना दोगे that if you do not come inside the school or if you do not come to the school, remain absent, then we will throw you out of the job immediately. आप इतना स्ट्रिक्ट रूल बना दो, then everybody would start coming to the school. But would that be a guarantee of good teaching? If I ask you this question, would that be a guarantee of good teaching? Can you guarantee that the same person who is now coming to the classroom would also teach at his best? Can you guarantee it?
No, sir.
Can any law guarantee it? So therefore, law stops operating at a particular level. There, what operates the law is your personal ethics and human values. अगर आपको पढ़ाना पसंद है तो आप बिना किसी प्रेशर के भी पढ़ाओगे, और अगर आपको पढ़ाना पसंद नहीं है तो पहले आप नहीं जाते थे बिकॉज आपको पसंद ही नहीं था पढ़ाना. आप स्कूल में ही हफ्ते में 1 दिन जाते थे, 2 दिन जाते थे. अब लॉ के कारण आप हफ्ते में 6 दिन तो चले जाओगे स्कूल. बट and that is an interesting point. Who or which law can compel you to teach well? Or is there possibly be a law wherein you could be made answerable that you haven't taught well? थोड़ी बहुत ग्रेडिंग वगैरह लगा दोगे. और प्राइमरी स्कूल में तो प्रॉब्लम ये होती है कि यूनिवर्सिटी में तो यू कैन कंडक्ट ए सर्वे हु इज टीचिंग वेल, हु इज नॉट, एंड देन डिसाइड द फेट ऑफ द पर्सन. बट व्हाट विल वी डू इन ए प्राइमरी स्कूल? दे आर किड्स. They won't be able to decipher between a good teaching or a bad teaching or an average teaching. So therefore, look at this problem of whether, look at why at the first place this issue needs to arise. Why at the first place this issue needs to arise. And when I discuss Lalita Kumari case, I'll tell you that imagine in a democratic republic with a very good charter of freedom, somebody has to approach the court and court has to frame this issue in 2013. सिंपल इशू है ये बिल्कुल. इसको फर्स्ट ईयर का लॉ का बच्चा भी बता देगा कि उसको सीआरपीसी का थोड़ा बहुत बेसिस बता दो, नेचर ऑफ एफआईआर, उसकी यूटिलिटी के बारे में बता दो, तो कह देगा कि भाई हाँ ठीक है रजिस्टर करो ना. मैंडेटरी रजिस्ट्रेशन से क्या, मैंडेटरी इज नॉट पुशिंग यू टू डू एवरीथिंग रिलेटिंग टू अ क्रिमिनल केस. इट्स जस्ट द स्टार्टिंग ऑफ ए केस. तो वो भी बता देगा yes it should be mandatory to register FIR as a general rule. There could be exceptions to it which court have created in Lalita Kumari case, but it should be mandatory. And it is quite unfortunate that we have to debate this issue and then we are convinced only after the decision of a higher court or superior court. So we will discuss this issue in detail with the help of Lalita Kumari case, maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow, because this case is there in your study material. And as your exams revolve around the study material or case laws given in the study material, so I will discuss case laws in separate classes or in separate lectures. Now, coming to one more issue. So have I made myself clear that this issue, mandatory registration of FIR, would be a part of a separate lecture in which we will discuss Lalita Kumari in detail. Now next is, or this is not an issue, rather a question, that what are the remedies available to a aggrieved person if police officer in charge of a police station refuses to record the information? What are the remedies available to the to the aggrieved person? Any idea? If police officer says that I will not register your FIR,
They can file a complaint to the magistrate.
they can file a complaint to the magistrate, section 2D, or you can approach superintendent of police under which section? 155 or 154? 154(3). Okay? So if you read 154 subsection 3, then it provides for one of the remedies available to the aggrieved person. Another remedy is filing a criminal complaint. इसके अलावा what you can do if you still unable to register your FIR? If you are still unable to register your FIR, you can approach High Court,
sir,
by filing a petition under section 482 of CRPC. So that is the last resort which you can adopt to seek redressal of your grievance relating to non-registration of FIR, even after you have approached the police officer in charge of the police station, you have approached SSP, you have filed a criminal complaint, but that also went in vain. So you can approach the High Court. You can approach the High Court. You can skip that criminal complaint wala situation. Some people, they approaches the High Court after approaching the SSP. So it's more a practical procedural issue. But as a law student, for now, we should be clear with the remedies that are available to the aggrieved person. We will discuss these remedies in brief detail by way of a judicial decision, Sakiri Vasu versus State of UP, a decision by Markande Kadju. So he has written few paragraphs to address this particular question. So that case law is more relevant as far as this question is concerned. जैसे कि Lalita Kumari is a case on whether registration of FIR is mandatory or not. Similarly, Sakiri Vasu is a case law which will give you answer to this question, that what are the remedies available to an aggrieved person if the police officer in charge of the police station refuses to record the information. Now coming to on this slide, it is the last issue, but there is one more slide. I will not discuss this issue in detail, but this issue is relating to validity of second FIR. So the issue is that where more information than one are given to a police officer in respect of the same incident involving one or more than one cognizable offences, whether the police officer should register both the information separately or he may record any one of the information as FIR. What do you think? Same incident involving same person.
Only one FIR will be lost against the same person.
ठीक है. तो कभी-कभी क्या होता है ना, मतलब in practical matters, in real matters, कि आप पहले दिन गए एक FIR रजिस्टर करा दी ग्रीवियस एक्ट की, और दूसरे दिन गए एक और FIR रजिस्टर करा दी फॉर एग्जांपल रॉबरी की और एक्सटॉर्शन की. अब इसमें दोनों में ऑफेंसेस अलग-अलग हैं सेम पर्सन के अगेंस्ट में. एक फॉर एग्जांपल FIR ग्रीवियस एक्ट की है, एक FIR रॉबरी की है, दोनों में अलग-अलग है ना.
यस सर.
हाँ, तो यहाँ पे तो प्रॉब्लम ज्यादा नहीं आती है, ठीक है. लेकिन in some cases what happens is that two FIRs are lodged. पुलिस भी दो ही कर लेती है FIR, ठीक है. एंड और ये थोड़ा सा डिटेल डिस्कशन हो जाएगा, आई विल नॉट go into that detail, and the contents are by and large same. उस केस में क्या होता है कि the aggrieved person approaches the court, higher courts, कि यार वो जो सेकंड वाली FIR है ना वो आप क्वैश कर दो, क्योंकि जो सेकंड वाली FIR में लिखा है वही पहली वाली FIR में लिखा है, तो इट वुड बी एन अननेसेसरी harassment ऑफ मी. सो उस प्रोसेस में कोर्ट हैज इवॉल्व्ड टू टेस्ट टू डिसाइड द वैलिडिटी ऑफ सेकंड FIR. In what cases second FIR would be valid against the same person or persons, for example, or in what cases it will not be valid. And these tests are test of sameness and consequence test. So, for example, if I ask you, in if you are deciding this question whether the second FIR is valid or not, then you will apply test of sameness. तो आपके दिमाग में क्या आ रहा है? That what would this test entail? Test of sameness. Then you will decide whether the second FIR is valid or not.
If it is identical to the first one.
हाँ, so that is how you should approach this issue. So अगर कोर्ट के सामने ये सवाल आता है कि जो दूसरी FIR है, it should be quest, which means that the question in legal terms is whether the second FIR is valid or not. कोर्ट क्या करेगा कि दोनों FIR की कॉपी पढ़ेगा, FIR number 1 and FIR number 2, and then would match it, that whether they are same or not. This is test of sameness. If they are same, then second FIR is quest. If they are not same, then second FIR would continue. Okay? Now, there is one more test which has been evolved by the court, that is test of consequence, to determine whether second FIR is permissible or not. Test of consequence. Any idea about what possibly should be a part of the test of consequence?
Sir, regarding the future consequences.
हाँ, मतलब कोई एग्जांपल दे सकते हो क्या कि भैया देखो इस सिचुएशन में ऐसा हो सकता है कि आपने ऑफेंस कमिट हुआ, FIR रजिस्टर करा दी, बट आपने उसकी कॉन्सिक्वेंस की भी FIR रजिस्टर करा दी, सेकंड FIR, एंड नाउ यू आर नाउ द अग्रीड पर्सन इज अप्रोचिंग द कोर्ट के सेकंड वाली FIR क्वेश्चन करो भाई. I'll ask you a simple question. Is it possible, for example, in every FIR by the informant to narrate all the facts and then police would be able to register FIR under all possible sections of penal code? Is it possible? Or it may so happen that during the investigation, police officer finds कि भैया नहीं, ये जो कहते हैं पहले तो जो है FIR रजिस्टर हुई थी ग्रीवियस हर्ट की, बट ये हाउस ब्रेकिंग का भी मामला है, ठीक है, ये हाउस ब्रेकिंग का भी मामला है फॉर एग्जांपल, तो वो क्या करेगा, फिर उसमें ऐड ऑन करता जाएगा. तो चार्जशीट विल नॉट नेसेसरीली रिफ्लेक्ट एन ओपिनियन ऑफ पुलिस ऑफिसर only on the offenses that are there in the FIR. It may reflect something else also, some other additional offenses. So this consequence test is giving it, वो simple है थोड़ा. Test of sameness is simple, where you are comparing copies of two FIR, first and second FIR. In this consequence test, the offenses which forms part of the second FIR are nothing but the consequences of the offenses which forms part of the first FIR. If suppose the offenses in the second FIR are consequences of the offenses in first FIR, then second FIR by applying test of consequence shall be quest. Second FIR would be treated to be valid. But if the offenses in the second FIR are not the consequences of the offenses in first FIR, then the second FIR would be valid. In conclusion, what you can say in just a line or two, that in order to decide whether second FIR is valid or not, the courts can apply test of sameness and test of consequence. Now, what do these tests entail? They simply say that if the offenses mentioned in the second FIR are either same to the first FIR, to the offenses mentioned in the first FIR, or they are the consequences, they are the natural consequences of the offenses in the second, in the first FIR, then the second FIR shall be invalid. Shall be invalid. So please read this slide very carefully, and also mark this issue as not that much relevant for your exam. Not much relevant for your exam, but it is a very relevant and important issue for people who are practicing law. तो नॉर्मली होता है कि भैया कितनी बार आपने सुना है कि मल्टीपल एफआईआर फाइल हो गई है एक व्यक्ति के अगेंस्ट में?
Sir, in recent time, there is very much possibility to file an FIR against such person, multiple FIR.
ठीक है, तो जब भी मल्टीपल एफआईआर होती है, ठीक है, ये थोड़ा सा एडवांस लेवल है, ठीक है, जब भी मल्टीपल एफआईआर फाइल होती है, so the person against whom multiple FIRs have been filed is not remediless. What does I intend to say when I am saying he is not remediless? What do I mean to say? बताओ भाई, when I am saying in a law school का class to law students that if multiple FIRs are registered against the same accused person, the accused person is not remediless. Law is there to come to his rescue. What do I mean?
He can approach High Court.
He can approach a वकील. पहले तो ये देखो, अपने प्रोफेशन की बात करो. फॉर एग्जांपल, he can approach me. Sir, he can approach me. He is not remediless. Then I will take up his grievance to High Court under 482 and ask the High Court, या तो क्लब कर दो सारी एफआईआर को, एक ही थाने में एक एफआईआर रहने दो, वही इन्वेस्टिगेशन करेगा. डू नॉट हैरेस माय क्लाइंट. या फिर the content of the second FIR, for example, are exactly similar to the contents of the first FIR, or they are the consequence of the. तो ये जो second FIR है, इसको क्वेश्चन करो. दो FIR में नहीं फंसेगा मेरा क्लाइंट, ठीक है जी. So that is why I am saying it is slightly at a higher note. It is not a simple 154 का discussion. It's more a discussion on what will happen to this kind of a situation via court. Or via court's decision, or what may happen. ठीक है? Now coming to next important point, and I'll complete this discussion on 154 today because I have 15-20 minutes का time. Now read this question. खुद भी पढ़ना पड़ेगा भाई आपको. अगर आप ये सोच रहे हो कि भाई मैं जो बताऊंगा आपको उससे काम चल जाएगा और बहुत अच्छा सीआरपीसी समझ आ जाएगा आपको, तो वो वाला तो नहीं हो पाएगा. बट मैं आपको स्निपेट्स देता जाऊंगा कि भैया ये इश्यूज होते हैं, इसके थोड़े थोड़े आंसर ही हैं. उसके बाद यू शुड और यू हैव टू पिक अ गुड बुक, लाइक यू हैव टू पिक केलकर एंड रीड इट. यू मे पिक लेटर ऑन आफ्टर 1 year a bigger volume and start reading it. ठीक है. So there is no end to the issues. For example, I decided to include, for example, 8-9 issues in my lecture on FIR. बट हो सकता है कोई और पढ़ाए आपको FIR, वो 20 इशू पढ़ा दे आपको. हो सकता है कोई सीनियर एडवोकेट ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट आपको FIR का टॉपिक पढ़ाए तो वो आपको 25 इशू पढ़ा दे रिलेटिंग टू FIR that has been through the corridors of the court. तो इसकी कोई एंड नहीं है. there is no limit to it. बट ये जो जितना डिस्कशन है वैलिडिटी ऑफ सेकंड FIR, नॉट मच रेलेवेंट फॉर योर एग्जाम. कोई पूछेगा भी तो कितना ही पूछेगा. यू कैन इजीली आंसर इट बाय राइटिंग टेस्ट ऑफ सेमनेस और टेस्ट ऑफ, बट दीज आर मोर रेलेवेंट फॉर योर डीपर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ CRPC. नाउ सपोज इफ X files an FIR against Y with a malafide intention to harass him. Y approaches you for legal advice. What legal remedies are available to Y under law? हाँ जी बताओ.
सर एंटीसिपेटरी बेल.
उसके अलावा बताओ FIR के कंटेक्स्ट में बताओ. वो तो उसी के साथ एप्लीकेशन लग जाएगी. जो रेमेडी आप इसको यहाँ पे बताओगे ना FIR के कंटेक्स्ट में, आप उसको क्या बोलोगे? एक लाइन में बोलना हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. व्हाट वी विल डू, वो लाइन बताओ. व्हाट वी विल डू, वी विल आप उसको बोलोगे रिलैक्स, you are not remediless. What we will do, we will file a petition under section 482 CRPC, or we may file a petition under 226 read with 482 of CRPC and get this FIR quashed. So the remedy in case somebody has filed an FIR to harass someone is to get the FIR quashed. And suppose if you are person with a team of lawyers. For example, you run a company and you have a team of lawyers. So every time an FIR is registered against you, what will you do? Although you imagine you are a rich person, have a battery of lawyers available to you because they are working with your company. Every time an FIR is filed against you, be it mala-fide or not, what will you do immediately?
So file for quashing.
बस ठीक है. ये इसलिए important है. Why I am teaching you quashing? Because quashing वाला topic is a lawyer's paradise. And you can exercise this remedy, legal remedy of asking the court to quash the FIR under 482 or sometimes under 226 read with 482, approaching the High Court and asking the court to quash the FIR. You can exercise this remedy in each and every FIR that is filed against you, provided you have that deeper pocket and you have that deeper an understanding. Or a person who is poor and resourceless and does not have enough resources, for example, उसके अगेंस्ट में FIR होगी, वो क्या करेगा बेचारा? वो क्या करेगा?
कुछ भी नहीं कर पाएगा.
कुछ नहीं कर पाएगा, ठीक है? And he will start circling. He may start circling around police officer in charge of the police station. उसी के सर्किल करेगा, उसी को कुछ पैसे वैसे देके बोलेगा यार छोड़ दो, ठीक है? But law has not been drafted in such manner. Law has been drafted to provide you remedy against every kind of possible aggression in the name of law. अब ये लॉ की कमी थोड़ी है कि हर कोई 482 में नहीं जा पा रहा है. ये लॉ की कमी नहीं है. It's a societal problem. It's the way we implement our criminal procedure. It's not the problem in the law. तो बड़ा क्लियर है. अगर जिस भी दिन आपको the moment you think कि an FIR registered against you is a mode to harass you, you have a simple remedy. Just go to the High Court. No need to circle around the police officer. Go to the High Court, file for quashing. You will get an order within 15 days, maybe within a week or two, if it is a very prompt kind of a High Court. So therefore, as a law student, we are concerned with the remedy, not with what would happen to a poor person, what would happen to a person who does not have this kind of legal knowledge available to him or her. उनके लिए तो भाई हम बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम तो बस सिंपली बात कर रहे हैं कि law provides a remedy against registration of FIR, and that remedy is very sweet remedy. The nature of the remedy is that the FIR shall be quashed, which means when it is quashed, which means you are a free bird. Once again, there is no case against you. You don't have to participate in the investigation. You can't be arrested. You can't be put on trial. Nothing. आपको वेट ही नहीं करना पड़ेगा उस स्टेज का जब आपको कोई एक्विट करेगा आफ्टर ए ट्रायल, या आपको कोई डिस्चार्ज करेगा, चार्ज नहीं फ्रेम होंगे आपके अगेंस्ट में, या मैजिस्ट्रेट कॉग्निजेंस नहीं लेगा, या पुलिस वाला फोरक्लोज कर देगा इन्वेस्टिगेशन. आपको उस स्टेज का वेट ही नहीं करना पड़ेगा. सो यू कैन गेट इट क्वेश्ड. So High Court is empowered to quash an FIR, and this according to me is one of the most important facet of law relating to FIR. Each one of you should know a little bit about it. More you will know when you will start practicing. Almost all lawyers who practice on criminal side, they file such kind of things. Almost all. So it's a lawyer's paradise kind of a topic. High Court is empowered to quash an FIR, also a complaint as well. To protect the accused from malicious prosecution. For example, when FIR is instituted with mala-fide intention to harass the accused person, the court can quash the same for ends of justice. FIR can be quashed by the High Court in the exercise of inherent power vested in it under 482. You can also club this thing and file a petition under Article 226 read with Section 482. ये तब होता है जब आपको पुलिस ने अरेस्ट भी कर लिया हो, तो आप क्या करते हो? You club it with 226 and also ask for issuance of writ of habeas corpus. क्योंकि अगर FIR क्वैश हो गई इसका मतलब your custody is
unlawful.
ठीक है जी. हाँ, the moment it becomes unlawful, you can seek a remedy for issuance of writ of habeas corpus. So therefore, once ये अर्णब गोस्वामी वाले केस में हुआ था, जब an FIR is filed against him and he is arrested, so he approached Bombay High Court. That case came up to Supreme Court. उसमें ये discussion हुआ क्वेश्चन के बारे में once again after a long time. तो उसने जो अपनी petition लगाई थी वो 226 read with 482 लगाई थी because he was seeking two remedies: quash the FIR plus declare my custody to be illegal and issue a writ of habeas corpus. ना जमानत लेने का झंझट है, ना किसी और चीज का झंझट है. इट्स अ स्विफ्ट रेमेडी. और क्वेश्चनिंग ऑफ एफआईआर में ना इन्वेस्टिगेशन का वेट करने की जरूरत है कि फोरक्लोज होगी या नहीं होगी, ना मैजिस्ट्रेट की तरफ देखने की जरूरत है ये कॉग्निजेंस लेंगे साहब या ना लेंगे, ना फिर ट्रायल में जाने की जरूरत है. इट्स अ स्विफ्ट रेमेडी, easiest way. And if you are a person with money, even in an FIR which is true, what will you do? You will approach the High Court. Forget about the things that will happen later on. Even if you know you had committed the crime, but still you will go to the lawyer, and because you have sufficient resources to pay the fees of a lawyer, he will say, "साहब ऐसा करते 482 में लगा देते हैं, maybe we are lucky enough to get a relief from High Court. Maybe." So therefore, once an FIR is registered, the accused person can approach the High Court under this section, for example, blah blah blah, and the relevant case law in this regard is State of Haryana versus Bhajanlal. And why it is Bhajanlal or Arnab Goswami always in such cases? In questioning of FIR, you will always get celebrity kind of people approaching the court. ठीक है जी. So that is why it's Bhajanlal. कभी हुआ होगा कोई मुकदमा ऐसा कि FIR is filed against he had been the chief minister of Haryana. तो कभी ऐसा हुआ होगा कि FIR फाइल होगी, you must have approached the court, क्वेश्चन करो भाई, and then case went up to Supreme Court. High Court ने रिलीफ नहीं दिया होगा, नहीं क्वेश्चन करेंगे, then he went to Supreme Court under 136 filing a special leave petition. तो इस वजह से ऐसे केस का नाम है स्टेट ऑफ हरियाणा वर्सेस भजनलाल. ऐसे ही केस का नाम है प्रकाश सिंह बादल वर्सेस ब्ला ब्ला स्टेट. ठीक है. सो नाउ ये तो मैंने आपको कसीदे पढ़ दिए कि भाई इफ यू आर रिच पर्सन यू हैव दिस रेमेडी, यू डोंट हैव टू सर्किल अराउंड द पुलिस वाला कि ठीक है यार तू कर ले रजिस्टर FIR, नो प्रॉब्लम, आई विल गो टू द हाई कोर्ट एंड गेट माय रिलीफ. ठीक है. बट the dictum of the courts are that this power of quashing FIR should be sparingly used. It should not be used frequently, or it should not be used without doing a proper examination of the petition under 482. Why it should be used sparingly? Anyone? Why court should not quash the FIR on a regular basis? Anyone? Why should the courts not quash FIR on a regular basis or without putting in too much of?
Side should also get a chance to tell their story.
And moreover, it's just the registration of FIR. अभी तो कोर्ट के सामने इन्वेस्टिगेशन का से रिलेटेड कुछ भी डेटा नहीं है, फॉर एग्जांपल, और अभी चार्जशीट भी फाइल नहीं हुई है. So therefore, court should tread this path of quashing an FIR very cautiously. You cannot do it as a regular matter, and it is because of this reason Supreme Court in State of Haryana versus Bhajanlal has given certain illustrative list of cases in which this power of questioning FIR, and Supreme Court calls it an extraordinary power of High Court to question FIR, can be exercised. For example, I will just read them. मतलब ऐसा नहीं होगा कि मैं आपको एक को एक्सप्लेन करके बताऊंगा फिर उसके अंदर एक केस लॉ भी बताऊंगा उसमें. ठीक है. वैसे ये डिस्कशन इज थोड़ा सा ऑफ द हायर लेवल. So I will just read these grounds. More you can read about these grounds when you have time enough to refer to a good digest of CRPC. So the first circumstance or the situation in which such extraordinary power to question FIR can be exercised is where the allegations made in the FIR or complaint, even if they are taken at their face value and accepted in their entirety, do not constitute any offense or make out a case against the accused. अगर FIR को पढ़ के ही पता चलता है, ऐसा आपने पढ़ा एक बार उसको और आपने जो उसमें लिखा है उसको सब कुछ सच मान लिया कि भैया ये जो लिखा है बिल्कुल मैं इसको एक भी वर्ड को डाउट नहीं करूंगा, और तब भी आपको ये रिजल्ट मिले that this FIR is not disclosing any offense or it is not making out any case against the accused person. Recently, this ground was reiterated by Supreme Court in Arnab Goswami versus State of Maharashtra case. जो अभी का केस है ना, जिसके बारे में मैंने आपको बताया था, Arnab Goswami was arrested after filing an FIR. So first he approached High Court, then he approached Supreme Court. Supreme Court ने बोला भाई क्वेश्चन नहीं करेंगे FIR, देखो, क्योंकि by reading this FIR we can easily conclude that a cognizable offense has been committed by you. तो क्वेश्चन नहीं करेंगे ये वाली FIR, but we may give you other remedies. कुछ those remedies are not relevant here to be discussed. Now, second is where the allegations in the FIR and other material, if any accompanying the FIR, do not disclose a cognizable offense justifying an investigation by police officer under 156(1). So ये वाला circumstance थोड़ा सा अलग है. जो circumstance number 1 है, उसमें the only thing which is available or referred by the High Court is FIR का copy. In second वाला ground, court is also referring to some other material which are available. तो अगर उस मटेरियल को देख के ऐसा लगता है कि भैया no cognizable offense has been committed, or the FIR plus the material collected by that time when court is hearing that quashing ka petition they do not disclose a cognizable offense. Now, where uncontroverted allegation made in the FIR or complaint and evidence collected in support of the same do not disclose the commission of any offense. ये भी situation हुई है जहां पे court is looking not only at the FIR but also at the evidence which are collected, and then arriving at this decision that these are uncontroverted allegations and quash the FIR. Then fourth one is allegation in the FIR do not constitute a cognizable offense but constitute only a non-cognizable offense. This could be a ground for quashing an FIR, and this is simple, I think, to understand that if suppose you filed a petition for quashing of FIR and the ground which you took in your petition is that your lordship, the FIR, by reading the FIR, you can easily conclude that no cognizable offense has been committed. If at all some offense has been committed, that offense is of non-cognizable nature. So therefore, please quash it. The allegations made in FIR are absurd, inherently improbable, on the basis which a prudent person can ever reach a just conclusion that there is a sufficient ground for proceeding against the accused person. नेक्स्ट इज रिलेटिंग टू, अगर आपको किसी की परमिशन लेनी है प्रोसिक्यूशन स्टार्ट करने से पहले और आपने वो परमिशन नहीं ली है और FIR वगैरह लिख दी है, तो देन इट कुड बी अ ग्राउंड फॉर क्वेश्चनिंग द FIR. एंड लास्ट इज व्हेन क्रिमिनल प्रोसीडिंग इज मैनिफेस्टली अटेंडेड विद मेला फाइट्स or where the proceeding is maliciously instituted with ulterior motive for wreaking a vengeance on the accused and with a view to spite him due to private and personal grudge, blah 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 blah. So these are illustrative examples of the cases in which FIR can be quashed by the High Court. When I'm saying these are illustrative examples, which means that these are not the exhaustive grounds. This is not an exhaustive list. High Court tomorrow or Supreme Court tomorrow may quash an FIR on some other ground other than these grounds. But by and large, I treat this list to be quite extensive and quite fair, and I don't think there will be any other possible ground on the basis of which FIR could be quashed. And it is because of this reason that this decision has stood the test of the time. It was delivered in 1992 and it is referred in almost all cases relating to quashing of FIR till today. So you cannot write a decision without referring to Bhajan Lal case on quashing of FIR. Now coming to the last topic of the day, which is what is the evidentiary value of FIR? Anyone? What should be the evidentiary value of FIR? Should it be treated to be a substantive piece of evidence or just an evidence corroborative, which is corroborative in nature? or explanatory in nature. Just a normal guess. A corroborative kind of thing. ठीक है? Not a substantive piece of evidence because it's just the first information given by the informant and it is only telling the story of the informant side. अब इसके लिए you have to be clear with the Evidence Act. So people who are not much clear with the Evidence Act, उनके लिए थोड़ा सा ये पूरा टेबल समझना मुश्किल हो जाएगा. बट मैं कोशिश करूंगा थोड़ा इसके बारे में बताने की. ठीक है? मैंने आपको बताया था in today's lecture only that FIR can be filed by a victim, can be filed by a third person, and can be filed by the accused. And depending on who is the informant, the evidentiary value of FIR may differ. So I'm once again repeating it. FIR may be lodged by the victim, by the accused, or by any third person, depending on who is lodging the FIR or who is the informant in a particular case. We should decide the evidentiary value of that FIR. For example, if a sexual offense is committed against A, and she was, after the commission of the crime, she was taken to the hospital, and while she was in hospital, her statement was recorded by her statement was recorded by the police officer in charge of the police station, and that happens to be the first information relating to that crime. So एक तरीके से वो statement was kind of an FIR. Now later on that woman dies. Unfortunately, she dies later on. Now that FIR, the first information वाला statement था उसका, which she gave in the hospital to the police officer, would become a anyone? Evidence तो पढ़ा है ना आपने? Would become a dying declaration under under section 32 of Indian Evidence Act, and it is the only case where an FIR could be a substantive piece of evidence. As a general rule, an FIR can never be treated to be a substantive piece of evidence. Rather, it will only be treated for explanatory or corroborative purposes. But in the situation which I just narrated, FIR can become a substantive piece of evidence. इसके कोई और भी एग्जांपल दे सकते हो अगर आपको लगता है. ठीक है? फिर एग्जांपल इसको थोड़ा सा फिल्मी बनाना हो आपको, that X was stabbed in front of Maurice Nagar police station. अब जब थाना ही सामने है तो X went inside, एक तरीके से in that injured state inside the police station, narrated the entire ordeal, and after 5 minutes he died. So that narration was actually the first narration of the incident, so therefore it will become an FIR. And now because he is no more, that would also convert itself into a dying declaration under section 32 of the Evidence Act. ये एक सिचुएशन है जहां पे FIR एक सब्सटेंटिव पीस ऑफ एविडेंस की तरह यूज हो सकता है. उसके अलावा anyone, what is section 6 of Evidence Act?
res gestae.
मतलब बताओ, थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन करके मतलब बताओ.
So part of the same transaction.
Part of the same transaction, which means that you are injured by someone, you went to the police station, so it is a
Part of same transaction.
and lodged an FIR, further part of the same transaction. So therefore FIR becomes relevant under section 6 of Evidence Act as a res gestae. ठीक है जी? One of the most difficult subjects under law is Evidence Act. One of the most difficult subjects. And there are, I don't know, the finest teacher of Evidence Act possibly whom I know is a professor at Ram Manohar Lohia National Law University, AP Singh. He is the finest possible teacher of Evidence Act. बाकी तो मुझे लगता नहीं है कोई इसकी तह तक जा पाएगा सब्जेक्ट की, because it's a highly technical subject and demands a very, very long duration of lectures to make each and every section clear to you. Now, What is section 8 of Evidence Act?
Motive, preparation and conduct.
और पूरा है क्या याद आपको, पूरा क्या लिखा हुआ है सेक्शन 8 में?
Subsequent conduct, sir.
ठीक है, subsequent conduct. Now it could be a conduct of both, it could be a conduct of either accused person or victim. ठीक है जी, अगर ये विक्टिम चला गया एफआईआर फाइल कराने घटना घटने के बाद, क्राइम कमिट होने के बाद, तो ये कंडक्ट रेलेवेंट होगा एज एन एविडेंस और नॉट? कंडक्ट ही तो है ना ये एक तरीके का. Similarly, if the accused after committing the crime went to the police station to narrate the entire ordeal, तो ये भी तो कंडक्ट है ना उसका. तो therefore FIR by victim is also relevant under section 8 of Evidence Act. Section 8 of Evidence Act. Accused में ज्यादा अच्छे समझ आता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैंने न्यूज में एक बार खबर पड़ी कि भाई पुलिस थाने में एक व्यक्ति आया, वो किसी व्यक्ति का कटा हुआ सर लेके आया अपने बैग में. वो थाने में आया तो उसने कहा आई वांट टू मीट द पुलिस ऑफिसर इन चार्ज ऑफ द एसओ साहब से मिलना है. कांस्टेबल ने कहा कि भाई क्या काम है एसओ साहब से, मुझे बताओ. कि नहीं उन्हीं को दिखाना है, मेरे पास बैग में कुछ है. उसने कहा ठीक है मिलवा देता हूं. अब जब वो एसओ साहब के सामने गया, उसने वो कटा हुआ सर उनके सामने रख दिया और फिर उसने नरेट करी पूरी इंसिडेंट. That this person has done this to me, so therefore I killed him and now I am surrendering before you. तो ये क्या हो गया? FIR हो गया. ठीक है? And it is also a
सर ये जो आपने बताया है, इसके बेस पे मतलब जो पुलिस वाले हैं उसको सजा दे सकते हैं या फिर ये मामला भी कोर्ट में जाएगा कि हाँ इसने क्यों किया?
अरे नहीं, कोई जंगल राज थोड़ी है भाई. तुम तो बिल्कुल ही रूल ऑफ लॉ का सत्यानाश कर रहे हो. पुलिस वाले को FIR लिखनी पड़ेगी, इन्वेस्टिगेशन करना पड़ेगा क्राइम को, ही विल पुट ऑन ट्रायल, कॉग्निजेंस होगा. कोई बनाना रिपब्लिक थोड़ी है.
एक्सेप्ट कर तो रहा है.
अरे तो कोई बनाना रिपब्लिक थोड़ी है. देयर इज अ प्रोसीजर. ये कोई सऊदी अरब थोड़ी है कि IR पकड़ के काट दिया. इट्स अ रूल ऑफ लॉ वाला कंट्री, ट्राइबल सोसाइटी थोड़ी है. एक्सेप्ट कर रहा होगा बेचारा, लेकिन एक प्रोसीजर तो है ना. पहले उसकी FIR लिखोगे, फिर इन्वेस्टिगेशन करोगे मामले में, फिर चार्जशीट फाइल करोगे. कोई समरी एग्जीक्यूशन थोड़े हो रहा है.
ओके सर.
हाँ, ये तो तुम ऐसी बात कर रही हो जैसे मेरे यहाँ शामली में कुछ लोग बात करते हैं कि पता तो है ना अपराध किया है, लो मार दो. ठीक है, तो नाउ यू आर स्टडीइंग लॉ, कम आउट ऑफ दैट जोन. ठीक है, जैसे कि मैं कम गांव जाता हूँ फॉर एग्जांपल, तो आई एम कमिंग आउट ऑफ दैट जोन. ये चीज सुनने को मिले कि भाई अच्छा आपको तो पता ही है इसने आपके सामने मारा है तो उसको मार दो ना, वो वाली खबर बनेगी फिर के एक व्यक्ति ने एक व्यक्ति को गोली मारी, फिर भीड़ ने पकड़ के उसको मार दिया. वो दैट इज मॉब लिंचिंग और मॉब जस्टिस. इट इज नॉट एज पर रूल ऑफ लॉ. ठीक है. अमेरिका पुट सद्दाम हुसैन ऑन. बताओ भाई, कंप्लीट करो सेंटेंस को. अमेरिका पुट सद्दाम हुसैन ऑन
ट्रायल सर.
ट्रायल.
हाँ, क्या वो मार नहीं सकते थे या उसको, या उनको कोई रोक रहा था, या कहीं से परमिशन लानी थी? दैट इज द मोस्ट पावरफुल कंट्री ऑन अर्थ. So they put him on trial. What happened in Nuremberg and Tokyo trial? Have you heard about Nuremberg trial?
So war
Yes,
crime.
sir, to prosecute war criminals.
Of what? Not very normal war criminals. Of people who committed Holocaust. तो सबसे आसान काम था खड़े करके and put them before a firing squad. Put them before a firing squad. So that is a rule of law, and that if you are a civilized person, that rule of law would take its course. Not like your women fancies कि पता तो है इन्होंने Holocaust किया है, they killed 60 lakh people, let us kill them. कितना टाइम लग रहा है उसमें? When Israel got hold of Eichmann, they brought him to Israel, conducted a trial, full-fledged trial, proved his guilt, produced witnesses, and then sentenced him. So it's the manner in which you should. भाई अब मेरा टाइम यहाँ पे खत्म हो रहा है, मैं इसको थोड़े सा कल कंटिन्यू करूंगा. ये अंडर 8 समझ आ रहा है ना कैसे FIR would be relevant? एज ए कंडक्ट, ठीक है, ये एज ए कंडक्ट। अब दो ही चीज मुझे बतानी है आपको, 145 एंड 157। 145 is when you use FIR, 145 and 157 when you use FIR either as a piece to contradict the informant or corroborate his version or corroborate during the trial. So this I'll explain you tomorrow, how you contradict and corroborate the statement. हाँ, वो आपकी कहानी है, आप बताते रहो, मैं तो आपको रूल ऑफ लॉ के एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ। एज ए लॉ टीचर आई कैन गिव यू एग्जांपल ऑफ रूल ऑफ लॉ भाई, आई कैन नॉट गिव यू एग्जांपल ऑफ रूल ऑफ मॉब एज ए टीचर, फिर तो मैं छोड़ दूंगा ना प्रोफेशन अगर मैं रूल ऑफ मॉब के एग्जांपल दूंगा। सो आई कैन ओनली गिव यू गुड एग्जांपल्स। ये थोड़ी कहूंगा कि एक व्यक्ति कामयाब हुआ क्राइम करके, एक व्यक्ति पढ़ाई करके कामयाब हुआ, तो मैं पढ़ाई वाले का एग्जांपल दूंगा ना। मुझे क्या मतलब है इजराइल ने कितना असैसिनेशन किया है, कहाँ कहाँ जाके किया है, और कहाँ कहाँ आपने नेटफ्लिक्स की डॉक्यूमेंट्री में देखा है, ठीक है। सो आई विल गिव यू फ्रॉम माय साइड गुड एग्जांपल्स which reflects a rule of law का version, not such examples which reflects a mob mentality, a tribal culture, a culture where there seems to be no law. If there is a law, then it should take its recourse. 23:35. Oh, Suhasini, Mansi. Suhasini present. Mansi, Sahil. Sahil present. Rajesh. Meenakshi. Rajesh present. Meenakshi present. Aditya. Kritika. Vishwajit present. Mayank. Ashish. Manvi. Naman. Ashish present. Manvi present. Naman. Kritika present. Naman present. Lavanya. Arshad. Karthik. Lavanya. Arshad present. Karthik present. Anupam present. Abhilash, Siddharth, Prerna. Abhilash present. Siddharth present. Prerna. Anjali, Rahul present. Arvind, Srishti, Ashish, Siddharth, Sunny. Ashish present. Siddharth. Sunny present. Vanshika. Aman present. Aman present. Ramkaran present. Abhimanyu present. Sakshi. Kunal. Nitesh. Kunal present. Nitesh present. Nancy. Mahesh. Nancy present. Mahesh. Anuj. Shivanshu. Mahesh present. Anuj present. Shivanshu. Satpal. Vishal. Manish. Satpal present. Vishal. Manish. Piyush. Karthik. Jyoti. Karthik present. Jyoti. Rajesh. Yasmin. Rajesh present. Yasmin present. Jyoti present. Rakesh. Shubham. Megha. Rakesh. Shubham. Megha. Raman. Gaurav. Ojashvi present. Manish. Rupendra. Rupendra present. Asim. Hariprakash. Akash. Asim. Hariprakash. Akash. Bhaskar. Anjali. Bhaskar present. Anjali. Ajay. Himanshu. Swaroop. Ajay present. Himanshu present. Swaroop present. Vinay. Usha. Shaurya. Vinay present. Usha. Shaurya, Sushil, Prateek present, Sushil present. 8:15 present. Vasum present. Tulon Amrita. Megha, I'll mark your attendance. Just give me a second. Let me complete the list first, then I'll mark your attendance. Amrita present. Rohit Kumar present. Aman, Uday Kumar Gaurav present. Megha present. किसी और का अटेंडेंस बचा है तो बता दीजिए आप. Megha present.
So Kritika is also present.
Kritika, I marked your attendance. Anyone else?
Sir.
हाँ जी बोलिए.
Sir, actually my internet connect issue at Friday.
I marked your attendance, Karthik. So no issues with that. I marked your attendance.
Not today, sir. Friday, last class ka.
I'll take care of it. Don't worry. I'll mark it. Okay?
Okay, thank
You to regularly come to the class na, so that is not an issue.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have already learned the list of students, so that is not an issue. I know who is attending the class now.
Then thank you, sir.
Not an issue. Ramkaran, I marked your attendance. You also attend classes, so no issues with that. Rohit, I marked your attendance. Thank you so much.